Nothing captures the imagination quite like contemplating the stars on a clear night. In ancient times, we looked to the stars to make sense of ourselves, our experiences, and our relationships with the world around us. We told stories of myth and legend in a mostly noble attempt to comprehend the cosmic web that we are a part of. Eventually, our stories created astrology and other esoteric systems that became the basis of the sciences we depend on today. Astrology looks into the vast expanse of space to find meaning, purpose, and wisdom. Join me, APM, your intrepid star guide, on this cosmic journey as we explore through astrology the mantra of the Delphic Oracle. Know thyself, and thy know the cosmos. Hello and welcome, star people. This is APM, your intrepid star guide. This is episode 7, season 7, and the topic today is using numerology to interpret a chart. Now, yes, I know I did this previously in another season, and you might recall this. However, we're going to go into more of the Pythagorean numbers and meanings to interpret the chart. And now for some housekeeping. If you like my astro flow, please like, subscribe, share, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and in particular Spotify, Apple iTunes, and Amazon Music Audible, and RSS. And thank you very much for those of you you already subscribed and those of you already listening. And now on with the show. So what we're going to start with is Pythagorean numerology explained. So what does that mean? I got into numerology because it was the right place, right time. I'd happened on a report someone had sent me from an astro-numerologist, and I hadn't heard that. I was into astrology, but I had not heard of astro-numerology, and so I stepped into it. I bought book after book after book, because there are two main systems. The first is Pythagorean, and the second is Chaldean. Pythagorean is the more commonly known. Oh, one last one, Chinese numerology. And so the Pythagorean system is what we're going to focus on today, and that includes the numbers all the way up to 9. The difference with the Chaldean system is that it's only up to the number 8, because 9 is considered to be a sacred and mystical number in the Chaldean system. I am not an expert on Chinese astrology or numerology, so I'm not speaking to that today. So we're thinking Pythagorean. And so the difference between that system and the one I presented previously is the one presented previously was more based on astrology, meaning that the first degree of any of the 30 degrees, being from 0 to 29, that first degree would have been Aries, the second would have been Taurus, the third would have been Gemini, and so on, until we arrive at the 29th degree. The Pythagorean system doesn't work quite like that. So what we're going to do is how this can help interpret charts. Now, how it can help, in my opinion, is it provides a bit more nuance. So instead of associating with the one with, say, Aries, the Aries energy, it is an energy unto itself. And that's what we're going to consider today. Number 1 energy tends to be very confident. It's bold. It's dynamic. It wants to be everywhere doing all of the things. And that energy is very confident and sometimes can be analogous or have an affinity toward the Aries sign and to spring and to new beginnings, etc. And how that helps is that it's not astrologically based, which I like. And because it's not astrologically based, for me it provides a bit more nuance. So instead of saying, okay, I've got the sun in Pisces at the 12th degree, I have another option. It's at the 12th degree, but the 12th you would subtract down, so you'd add 1 to 2 If it's a double digit, that's what you do, and you get a 3, at which point now I have a 3 to work with, and it would be 3 energy. That's one way I could do it, which would be creative, joyful, delightful. You get the picture, and that is how that works. So ones are about beginnings and originality and that sort of thing. And so that is how I would use it. Using Pythagorean number meanings would be how I would tend to interpret a chart. So my own personal story goes as follows. Like I said, I found astro-numerology, and I'd never heard of such a thing before. I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. I didn't know you could mix the two. That was where I was in my journey at that point. And so I went and found a book which also mentions astro-numerology. And that's basically astro-numerology is when you take the degree that the planet or point is in and interpret that as well. Now, if that's too much information for you and, and you just want to stick to the planets, that's fine. That's cool. This is something you can be curious about and add to later. But if you're the sort of person like I am and you are easily bored and you constantly love to learn and take in information, and if you don't, you get very bored and very depressed, fiendishly so, this is where this can, refresh your astrology practice. And so the Pythagorean system goes from 1 to 9. And you just basically go A, B, C, D, E, F, G until you get all the way to the 9th number. And then you start over again with that next number. So let me sketch it out because I want it to be brief. So, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So at I, you would go back and start with J, K, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. So that's how you do it. You just take the alphabet and you assign the alphabet to the numbers. Very simple. So A, B, C, A all the way to I, and then J all the way to R. And then we go back S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Okay? And that's all it is. It's not that hard. So each number corresponds to a letter. And that's how you do it. Numerology. So that's typically when you're going to take your name, for example, when you hear name sites, when they say, how to take your name and make a number out of it and then give yourself a deeper meaning. It's yet another way of divining who you are. But we're not intending to use it that way. That's just a simple explanation. What we're going to do is keep it very simple, and I'm simply going to tell you what the numbers mean and how that we're going to start with what the numbers mean, and then we're going to go into a chart example where I will interpret the sun, the moon, the rising, and the chart ruler, and any planets and points in the tightest aspect to give you an idea of how that can help a chart be an easy read and a more enjoyable read. Because the whole point is not to sit there blankly. I mean, you can if you like to meditate on a chart, but my take is you can start with anything, basically. You can start with the sun and go, I don't feel anything for the sun in Pisces. But you like numbers, and you're like, it's at the 4th degree. That's interesting. What do you know about the number 4? Then you can start your interpretation there. It's an entry point. It is a portal. It is a means of ingress and egress, meaning a way of in and out. You can use numbers to get into a chart when sometimes you draw a blank. Every astrologer out there, no matter how many years they've been doing astrology and for how long they've been studying, will have moments when they just blank out. We're just like, what the hell is this supposed to mean? Your brain is absolutely giving you nothing, and your mind's chattering in the background, blah, 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 blah. You can't do this, blah, blah. I'm not getting anything, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, God. So it is merely a way of getting into a chart. And so the whole purpose of this is because I want to give you as many ways to get into a chart on those times when the information you're not inspired. Okay? So that's how we want to do that. So this provides nuance. Also, it keeps you from those meme type interpretations. All Piscean people are flakes. They're escapist. They don't live in reality. They're real sensitive. And some people might read that very negatively and in a very judgmental way. And so when you have the ability to look at a number, or look at some other point in the chart, you can step past that. If you see the sun in Pisces at the 4th degree, you might not, you're less inclined to say, oh, sun in Pisces flaky. You get to step outside of those meme type one-note interpretations and say, this person might not be like that for a number of reasons, which we're going to get into. So what we're going to do now is pop into the numbers. So number 1, as I said, is the beginnings. It's the start. It's bold. It's dynamic. It's independent. It's confident. It's creative. Just let me in there. I want to be the first. I am the first. I am. Number 2 is more cooperative, more partnership, energy. It wants everyone to get along. It's nurturing. It's caring. It's like, hey, how you doing? Are you okay? Sort of thing. If a 1 and a 2 are at a party, the 1 is the host going around to make certain that everything is being orchestrated well. The 2 is like filling people's cups going, how you doing? What's going on? You all right? Can I fill you up? Can I top you off? Are you good? That's the 2. Nurturing, caring, personable, a bit more sensitive than the 1, a bit more retiring than the 1. And the 3s are all about creativity, joy. They're also confident, but they're the life of the party. They're the ones holding court at the party. Everybody's having a conversation, and the 3's there telling the jokes. Did you hear this one about the quack, quack, quack? Wop, 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 making everybody laugh. Creativity, joyful, self-expression. That's a 3. Very simply put, I'm simplifying this because this podcast could go on forever if I allowed myself to talk about the numbers, because I really love numerology. Number 4 tends to be very grounded, very practical, very kind of sciencey. They're sensible, they're responsible, they like things to make sense, they're determined, they're focused, they're single-pointed. And yes, they can think outside the box, but they like to have it dialed in first before the box is allowed to disappear. 5s are explorative. They are experimenters. They love adventure. They love freedom. They want to be out there with all the adventures, climbing that mountain. Now, at a party, the 4 is probably in a corner, maybe watching everybody. The 5 is going from group to group. The 6s are the nurturers. They are kind, and they can be sensitive. They're kind of like the 2s, except with a little bit more of a leadership vibe in there, kind of Libran in a way, knowing how to be fair, to be diplomatic, to be peacemakers, to build bridges where other people might burn them. At the party, if there's a disagreement, the 6 is playing devil's advocate and also calming the waters between everybody else. The 2 might get a little ruffled if everyone's acting up, but the 6 will calm everybody. Hey, everybody, it's just a party. Hey, everybody, it's just a discussion, not that serious. So-and-so has a point, and you also have a point. Number 1. Number 2 has a point. We don't have to always fight. Number 1, you have a point. Yes, this means this. And number 4, I understand your ability to believe that people should be responsible, etc. And number 5, I get your point too. So the 6s are calming the waters. Then comes the 7s. The 7s are the mystical number. They are quiet. They are scientific. They can be a bit aloof. And, kind of like sometimes they can play nicely with 7s, but as a rule, not all the time. What they have in common is that they can be scientific and grounded enough in addition to being mystical, that they can converse with a 4 and say, okay, I see your point there, and here's some excess information. So the 7s are quiet too. They're scientific. They think outside of the box, and they tend toward a more mystical bent. And at a party, they're more than likely going to be, listening in, tuning in like everybody else, listening with everybody else and sharing, the impartial aspects of the conversation, piping in here and there. They're not the sort of people that want to, be the center of attention. They're much quieter. So it's also the number of spiritual completion and inner peace and calm. So they tend to be bringing a higher world view. This is the seeker. This is the sensitive. This is the mind of a philosopher. This is the analyzer. This is someone who doesn't mind grasping the unknown and looking into the mysteries of life. Those are the 7s. The 7s are going to bring a philosophical bent to a conversation of the numbers at this hypothetical party that I'm sharing. They're the ones listening in, sipping their drinks, and then sharing some mind-blowing stuff with the rest of the gang, because they're not talking a lot, but when they do speak, they speak volumes, and it is mind-blowing. The 8s are the power brokers. They're the builders, the shapers. They want to make something of this world. They want to make an impact. They are like a meteorite, a large meteorite, like the one that made the Marianas Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean on the Earth. We are the Challenger Deep, and quite a few other features of that trench exist. It is literally the deepest place on the planet, and it is located in Guam, off the coast of the Marianas Islands, which is in Guam, which is United States territory currently. And so the reason why I mention that is because I'm thinking of the impact of the meteorite that made the Marianas Trench many, many, many millions of years ago. And that is an 8. 8s are like that 8 card, the 8 of Wands. Bam! They want to make an impact. They're showing up. They're turning out. They want to be seen. They want to be heard, but they want to build something. They are single point focused. They're about leadership. They're about strength. They're about financial security. And they're also about power. They have vision, but they like to be practical. They're looking for successful outcomes. The energy is kind of Saturnine and kind of Capricorn type energy. And then we move on to the 9. The 9s are the humanitarians. They're the sensitive people. They're the ones that feel the pain of the world. They are considered to be the king of numbers. It is also a number of transformation and is the end that implies a beginning. And 9 people tend to be warm, outgoing, loving, and have magnetic personalities that allow them to get on with people. They are kind, they're empathetic, they can be inspirational and humanitarians, and they can be highly idealistic. They like to lead by example. They like to walk their walk and talk their talk, and they have high ideas that they hope will inspire others to follow suit. And so those are the numbers. Now, what I'm going to share also is that the numbers have triads. They exist in triads. So 1, 5, and 7 are called the mind triad. They're all the analytical numbers, scientific, very mental energy. Whereas 2, 4, and 8 are considered the manifestation triad, because that triad is about being practical, being grounded, and using your resources to make an impact in the physical material realm. The third triad is 3, 6, 9, which is called the creation triad, and they're about self-expression, creativity, artistry, things of that nature. So it helps to know which triad you're dealing with. So those are the 3 triads. So mind triad is 1, 5, 7. Manifestation triad is 2, 4, 8. And the creation triad is 3, 6, 9. Okay? That's how Pythagorean numbers tend to work. Okay? So that is what you need to know for right now, so that when you see yourself looking at a 1, you know you're dealing with mental energy. And so you might have a sign, like say you might have the sun hanging out in Scorpio at the 1st degree, and it's in the 9th house. Scorpio energy loves to investigate. It is a Pluto-fueled sign, meaning that Pluto is the way shower there, the guide. And it likes to look deep. It likes to look under rocks. It wants to understand the unknown and the mysteries of relationships, of people, of life. And in the 9th house, and this is hypothetical by the way, in the 9th house, it's all about other people's worldviews. Other people in particular, because the 9th house is a transpersonal house. With an affinity with Sagittarius, a transpersonal sign. So it's about other people, less about you. So it's about other people's worldviews and how you'd come in contact with those worldviews. It's also the house of metaphysics and altered states, in addition to, what would they call that? Out-of-body experiences would be very 9th house, for example. And what that means is if you've got the sun hanging out at the 1st degree of Scorpio, it's a very analytical type. It's a very mental energy. And so I wouldn't read this just as this Scorpio person is a Scorpio. They just want to connect with other people. They want to be intimate. They want to merge. They're very intense and passionate. Yes, they are. But they're intense and passionate about 9th house things. And since it's in Scorpio, they're going to go at it more doggedly, more determinedly, and they want to know the inside. So the ugly parts that other people don't want to look at. So if we're looking at, say, for example, you're studying American history and you're not from America, you're not going to be satisfied if you have this point in your chart. You're not going to be satisfied with just hearing American history. You want to hear the dark parts. You want to hear the deceptions. You want to hear what got swept underneath the rock, the rug, what got buried. You're going to be digging and tunneling for that. And that's the 1st degree of Scorpio. And it's very analytical energy, very mental, which means at 1 degree it's confident. It wants to be the first to do something. It is courageous and independent energy. It wants to boldly go where no one goes before. It goes where angels might fear to tread. But this is not impulsive energy per se, since it's in Scorpio. It can be impulsive energy, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. It also means that this person tends to lead with their mind a bit more than their hearts. So, as a rule, the 1 is a spark of creation. It's creative, it's courageous, it's enthusiastic. They like to follow their guts. They like to lead, and they want to leave behind a very unique and very original legacy. They want to test their mettle, and they don't want to take the beaten path, which means there's going to be a lot of a learning curve. That's my fan, by the way. The click you heard, that's my fan. They want a learning curve. They're going to go where other people won't go. They're going to look under rocks other people aren't going to look under. They want to see behind, the bottom of, the round of. They want to know the entire story. So that means if you're looking at history, we're going to be like, hey, the creepy, scary stuff, like how cannibalism shaped American history. Now, you would think that's not a thing, but I just, Humanity Archive, by the way, I follow them. They have a podcast, and it's also an Instagram. Feel free to do your research and look up Humanity Archive, because that is a very Scorpio on the cusp of the 9th house type thing. We're looking at history, absolutely, very scholarly, very universal type, university type stuff, but guess what? He's looking underneath the rocks. He's like, you think that's the way it was, but it's not. Let me let you into the stuff that you didn't hear. And that's how you feel cannibalism shaped American culture. Fascinating. So, Scorpio at the 1st degree in the 9th house is all about the intrepid traveler looking underneath rocks, resisting the beaten path. If there is a path to the darkest part of the woods, that's the path they're taking. They want to be the first to go there. They want to see what's there, and they want to look into everything that nobody else wants to see. So that's to give you an example of how you might look at the Scorpio sun at the first degree in the ninth house, for example. Now, what we're going to do next is I'm going to look at a chart of a celebrity of note, and I have chosen for this particular episode to look at the chart of Rihanna. Now, her sun is in Pisces at the first degree, and it's in the 12th house. Her moon is at 11 degrees Aries, and the ascendant's at 15 degrees Aries. That means the moon and the ascendant are right on top of each other, and that means the moon is flavoring the ascendant with its energy. So her energy tends to be a bit more lunar. Now, I'm going to make a note here. The birth chart accuracy here is in question. So I'm presenting this chart with the understanding, and let you know with the understanding that it is in question as far as I understand it to be. The chart energy tends to be very Aries, and I am using whole sign houses. So with that, we're going to start with the sun at the first degree in the 12th house. So the 12th house is about the spirituality, but it's also about retreat. So she's going to need time. When she wants to create, when she wants to express, it would be best for her to step back and think about what she's about to say or do before doing anything. It is unwise for her to make a choice just based on emotion. That is a first degree sun hanging out in the 12th, and so probably hanging out in the 12th, and so probably not the best idea to make decisions based on how you think. You know, how you think it should be based on more logical, more reasonable. And 12th house is, like I said, take a step back, give it some thought. Let a moon cycle pass, or maybe wait a day or two before speaking or coming up with an idea, because you want to make certain you can commit to this idea, is what I would say to her if she was sitting across from me. And also when creating, because the sun is also about self-expression as much as about your sense of self, you create your sense of self. That's my opinion. You don't have one. You have traits, you have a natural temperament, which is represented by your moon, but you don't have a personality when you're born. You have a temperament which can be shaped and formed into a personality that can appear to be fixed. Okay? So at that 1 degree Pisces, this Pisces is a bit more analytical than a typical Pisces. And it's hanging out in the 12th house in this particular chart in a place that it's comfortable with. So she needs times of escape. She needs to go into her head and have fantasy, but she also needs to use that analytical ability. That energy is also meant for her to use her mind and her imagination to envision how she might want to boldly go, how she might want to step off of the well-trod path onto the beaten path. And keeping in mind, she actually has done that with quite a few of her songs. You know, she has brought a bit more of a street kind of energy that typically at the time for singers wasn't present. Women were, they were very glamorous and sang beautifully and looked wonderfully, and then Rihanna brings an edgy energy into the story. She brings rawness, she brings the primal, she brings all of that, and she's a Pisces sun. You're thinking she should be, more sensitive, which she is. It's just that there's a mind at work behind all of that sensitivity, and it's in the 12th house, so you're probably not going to see it, and if you do, you're probably not going to interpret it accurately. We've got the moon at 11 degrees of Aries, and that would be in the first house. And 11 degrees is a master number, basically 2 ones together. And that master numbers are unique in that people always assume that master number somehow makes someone superior. And nothing could be further from the truth. master numbers are like having advanced courses, and you're in secondary school and you're taking more advanced courses, or maybe you decided to spend the summer in between, fourth form and fifth form, or for the Americans, your third year and your fourth year, and you decided to take some advanced placement classes and college-oriented classes, or A-levels, O-levels, if you're not doing that already, so that you can get yourself ready for university. And so 11s are more along those lines. You're taking advanced placement courses, which are meant to challenge you. You're meant to meet obstacles. You're meant to overcome obstacles. You're not meant to sit on a cloud staring adoringly at a white flower while pontificating on the beauty of the universe and how everything is perfection. So that 11 number, that's not how it works. It's a very creative number. It's a very leadership type number, and it's seen as the psychic master number, and it blends a 1 into a double new beginnings and more enlightened leadership. You're at a balance. You break down 11s into 2s. Now, with numbers, when it comes to double numbers like 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and etc., you can break it down into a simple number. You're not going to see 33 in a chart, but you can break it down to a simpler number if that's what you prefer. That's up to you. So you can read it as an 11, or you can read it as a 2. I read it as an 11 because I tend to read master numbers as master numbers. And so 11s are dealing with light and dark. They're dealing with duality. They're dealing with masculine and feminine, light and dark, unseen and seen, known and the unknown. And so they are dealing with that equilibrium, trying to make sense between illusions, the heaven and earth, the visible, invisible, separate and interpersonal and interconnected. So it is meant to be a completion. You're meant to master this number at a high level. So for Rihanna, that moon is, you got to listen to your inner voice. You've got to listen to your intuition. You've got to listen to your gut, which is actually the voice of your soul. And that's when it comes to her identity, which is the first house. And in Aries are boldly go. With her identity, it is a forceful, it is a independent identity. It is confident, depending on what Mars is doing in her chart. We're not going to interpret Mars right now because I want to focus on the numbers in astrology. But that 11 stands for learning balance with how she expresses her identity and how people choose to see her. She can only do that from how she wishes to impact the world and how she wants to show up in the world. She has no power to influence other people's perception of her. So with that 11 in the moon, she's got to trust her own voice. She's got to trust her own instincts over what other people are going to tell her. Because that moon tells you about the temperament. The temperament is confident, assertive. It wants to do its own thing, go its own way. It knows its own mind. It wants to veer off beaten paths. And it doesn't take too kindly to too much oversight from authority figures or naysayers. I'm boldly going. And so you've noticed how she presents herself has changed quite a bit because she's following her gut. I'm going to have pink hair. I'm not going to have pink hair. I'm going to dress like this. I'm not going to dress like this. Because I really cannot name every outfit. She's had quite a few really cool outfits and ways of presenting herself because to her, it's an experiment. To her, I am boldly going by expressing my identity in its many varying ways. So that 11 is always dealing with two extremes. It's dealing with duality. It's dealing with how femininity looks like this, and over here, the opposite of that. It's playing with that energy, and it's kind of it's learning to be able to play the devil's advocate and see both sides. It's being able to live from the light and the dark, the known, the unknown, the visible and the invisible, the masculine, the feminine. It's to exist in the liminal space between those points, while at the same time being able to understand those points of view because you have lived the entirety of that spectrum when it comes to identity. So expressing her temperament, confident and assertive, I want to dress how I want to dress, and I want to wear my hair the way I want to wear my hair and express myself in the way that feels comfortable for me to express myself, and I really do not want to be red-penned or censored or edited by other people. I know my own mind. I know what I want. I know what I want to do. I know how I want to look, and thank you very much for your opinion, but I really don't care to hear it. So if you don't mind, let me get on with being me kind of energy. And that's the moon. And the moon is your temperament, once again. And at 15 degrees, we have her Aries ascendant. And as I said, confident, assertive, Mars-fueled, Mars-powered. 15s, we can reduce to a 6. That is in sort of an energy that's very, as I said, nurturing. It can be nurturing, it can be kind. But this is a 1 and a 5, 6. So one part of her is nurturing and kind, but it's a bit more complex than that because she's confident, absolutely. Assertive, absolutely. That's the 1. I want to boldly go. But that 5 says, I want to explore, I want to experiment, and I want to explore and experiment with the many different ways I can turn up in this world. And that is nurturing to me. And I can only give that to other people if I give it to myself first, because that's Aries energy. Okay? Now, Mars in Sagittarius is at 28 degrees in the 9th house, and for this chart, it rules that chart from the 9th house. And 28 degrees comes down to an 11, which goes down to a 1, which means that this energy is at like 2 degrees, is 2, is learning to be emotionally intelligent, to be caring, to nurture. Remember what I said about 2 at a party? They're filling the cup of everybody else saying, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Checking in with you to see if you're okay. But that 8 is all about power. I want to make an impact in this world. I want to have an empire. And doesn't she have one? It goes down to an 11. She's going to need to learn to deal with extremes and duality, which goes down to the 1, which is I want to blaze new trails. So, that 3 points you're noticing right there, 28, 11, 1, that's basically up levels. It's always going to be an up level. It's never going to be that simple. So there are going to be times when she's going to be coming from the 11 energy, because that's what 2 and 8 is. 28 is 11 energy. It's just a different type of 11 energy. This Mars wants power, and it's caring, it's kind. I'm willing to listen to you, and I'm here to do something big. I'm here to share big ideas, hear big ideas, and I'm willing to make that all writ large. This is Sagittarian energy. I want to be free-spirited. I want to travel the world. I want to learn, and I'm open to learning, but I'm also here to make an impact. Okay? Just a simple way of seeing that. So that is one way of looking at the chart. Now, the reason I'm going to go into it more deeply into next week's The Daily Stargazer. So Outlaw Astrology has a newsletter called Outlaw Astrology's The Daily Stargazer, in which I'm going to go a bit more deeply into this topic. But this is just an appetizer to whet the appetite, to, satiate for a bit and to inspire a little bit of curiosity. So if you're interested in that, please sign up or, for free, because I do about 1 to 3 posts a month for free subscribers and unlimited 4 and above for those who are paying, which is $7 a month, if you're interested in that. But this is where I'm going to do the deeper dives. So what you hear on the podcast, I will go deeper into on the newsletter, which I might include audio eventually and video, etc. And so we're going to wrap this up. And the topic at hand is how you can use numerology. So as you can see, you can take a groovy numerology book of your choosing. I don't have a recommendation. Well, I do have one. Look for Tanya Gabrielle. She has a numerology guide in which she talks about astro-numerology. I will find that link and put it in the show notes. So your key takeaway is that if you are tired of the standard meme type of interpretations that you see on social media, numbers give you an opportunity to go in deeper and show people, hey, these are traits that you can develop, traits that you have access to that can help you do what you want to do and be who you want to be in life, okay? And so look at your numbers in your chart. You can Google numerology and it'll give you a number chart, and it will give you what numbers basically mean pretty much anywhere. It's very easy to do. And look at yours. Start with your sun, your moon, your rising, and your chart ruler, and see where those numbers are and see where the numbers take you. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate you. Until next time, keep your eyes and your head to the skies.